Alhambra. This is BlueBrixx set 108079. It was released in July 2025 for about 130 euros. This construction block set consists of 2,823 pieces, which are compatible to bricks by other building blocks companies like Lego, Kobe, Mega, and so on. As you can see, this is a BlueBrixx Pro set, which means it comes in this quite colorful box, unlike the special sets which do not come with any design on the boxes. The box itself calls the set Castle Alhambra, and this is quite an understatement for this huge complex of palaces. And do you really say Castle Alhambra? Wouldn't be Alhambra Castle correct? Strange. But as I said before, I'm not happy with this name anyways, because I don't think I have to say much about the Alhambra. It's one of the most touristy places in Spain, and I guess more or less everybody knows this huge, fortified palace complex in Granada. It's separated by Granada. It's its own little city of palaces. You can see the fortifications, those huge walls. I think here we got a whole castle complex here in the west, but there are huge palaces everywhere. Nasrid palaces and also Baroque palaces, or is it Baroque Renaissance palaces, I think. And I don't think you can simply call this whole complex just a castle. It's so much more. Maybe the German term is a bit better, Schloss Alhambra, but I don't think you say this either. You just call it the Alhambra, just like you say in English, the Alhambra. It's not just a schloss, it's not only one palace. It's a mixture of castle, palace, with all those gardens. Yeah, it's a whole little fortified royal city. And I guess BlueBrixx wasn't too happy with calling the set Castle Alhambra either, and this is why they call the set on their website simply Alhambra. But let's get back to the set itself. So it's manufactured by Xingbao, and sadly Xingbao is known for their rather ugly injection holes, and I fear that this might become a problem. Have a look here at the base of our model, and there you can see a lot of studs, and of course the injection holes normally are visible on the studs. We can't see any injection marks on this image here, but I guess this is a computer rendered image, and of course they do not render the injection marks. Let's just hope that for once Xingbao used rather nice pieces so that we do not get to see too many injection holes. But I'm really a bit afraid of all those studs here. We will see. Alright, then let's have a look at the back side of this huge box. What do we find there? We get to see the completed build in different views. So here we can see it from the opposite side. Here we can see it from above, and there we also get to know how huge our model is. So it's 79.2 centimeters by 33.8 centimeters by 10.2 centimeters. Wow, almost 80 centimeters wide. That's a quite huge set. I will have to find a place for that. So then we get to see some details of the completed build. That's quite cool. Yeah. But all in all, this is the usual stuff we see here. On the front, we could see how the Alhambra looks in its surroundings, with the surrounding hills, the whole nature. And here the backside just gives us more details of the set. It's a more technical view, so you can see there isn't really a background. It only says BlueBrixx endlessly. And yeah, of course, we get to know the dimensions and, as I said before, some details. Well, I think then it's time to have a look inside the box. Inside the box we find these two white boxes, box A and box B. And yeah, there's an image of the completed build printed across both boxes. But so far, this isn't something new. We could see this in a lot of other BlueBrixx Pro sets. But what's new is what's inside those boxes. Normally, we find inside the boxes the bags with the bricks, and yeah, you can see that those bags come with numbers, and normally those bags are not sorted. You can find, for example, bags with the number 1 on them inside both boxes and so on. But in this case, the bags are sorted. We find in box A bags 1 to 4, and in box B there are also some bags with the number 4, but mainly there are the bags 5 to 7. So we don't have to search for all the bags with the needed numbers in both boxes. We directly know in which box we have to look for them. That's cool. Then there are also the instructions in box A. And yeah, it's a BlueBrixx Pro set. This means we get instructions, but sadly, printed instructions, but sadly no digital instructions. In the last few months, BlueBrixx also published printed digital instructions for some of their Pro sets. But sadly, it's not the case for this set. Maybe this only has to do something with their new website, that they completely updated their website. It's a completely new design. And so far they simply forgot to upload the instructions. But I fear that we won't get digital instructions. I don't know, we will see. But to be honest, I don't really care. I prefer digital instructions, but I'm fine with printed instructions too. So, when we open the instructions, you can see that we got 7 building sections. That's why the bags come with numbers. The pieces are pre-sorted to those building sections. So all the pieces for the first building section are in the bags with the number 1. And well, I also noticed that there is this bag which comes without number. You can see it contains all the huge blades. But this bag comes in the box with the letter B. And yeah, you can see that already in the first building step we are going to use some of the plates of this bag. Which means we only might have to open box A for all the bags with the number 1, but nevertheless we also have to open for the first building section box B, because we need some of the plates. They tried very hard, but they still failed to sort the pieces properly. But it got way better, we have to say that. Okay. I think I'm going to open all the bags for the first building section now. The bags with the number 1 on them. And yeah, also the bags with the bag with the plates. And then I will start with step 1-1. I will come back to you as soon as I see something interesting or something doesn't work like shown in the instructions. Step 1-33. I think now we know where the outer limits of this build are. And oh my, this is huge. I have no idea where I'm going to store the completed build. This is way too big. Wow. Well, let's take the opportunity to talk about the bricks. Or better said, the plates so far, because we only have used plates until now. The pieces work totally fine. There's absolutely no problem with the clutch power. The pieces do work as intended, but yeah, you can see that they come with huge injection holes, crater-like holes, and of course this is ugly to look at. And I fear that we are going to see some of them once we have completed the build. We will not cover all of those ugly injection holes. That's a bit sad. And also have a look at the color. Is it just me, or is the green inconsistent? It's not that the pieces differ from each other, it's more that the pieces in themselves have differences in the color. There are lighter patches. Well, I guess this makes the pieces look a bit more like grass, but I don't think that this was planned. Well, let's go on. Step 1-35. I don't think that the Lego company does use these wedges here, these tiles. Those are 2x3 wedges. Yeah, I don't think that I have ever seen those pieces as tiles in any Lego set. Step 1-42. Here is another wedge which, for example, the Lego company doesn't use as a tile. It's a 2x2 wedge, but it's not a plate, it's a tile. Step 1-85. We have completed the first building section. And yeah, as you can see, we have completed the base and we are starting to add the first layers of the hill. Oh, and by the way, this is the brick separator which came with this set. It was included in one of the bags of the first building section. Alright, then let's go on with the hill. Let's continue with building section number 2, in which we are also starting to build some of the buildings. Step 2-6. In this step we have to use 1x1 plates with clips, but we have to pay attention because we have to use different clips. So we have to use the old clips, the classic clips, the U-shaped clips, but also the newer pieces with C-shaped clips. Functionally there isn't any difference at all, but since these clips are going to be seen once we have completed the build, we still have to pay a bit of attention. I guess they are part of some ruins. We are placing them here, and here you can see where it will be placed in the completed build. Step 2-14. I'm a bit confused. Why do we see a bar up here? We are not using any bar in the step. I'm just going to ignore this. Step 2-17. In this step we are using more pieces which are unknown to the sets of the Lego company, But we can see these pieces quite often in BlueBrixx sets. Those, single studs, only studs, hollow studs, ironing beads, whatever you want to call them. And those are quite cool pieces. BlueBrixx uses them most of the time to reverse the building direction, or the stud order. But in this case we are using them for something else, to build little trees. So have a look what we do. Et voila, here's our little tree. Step 2-39. I'm not happy with the construction. Have a look here, everything is slightly loose. You can see that those studs here, or those pieces, are not interlocked properly. But if I push them down, this gets pushed up. I don't know if it's a problem of the pieces or the construction itself, because we have built the space with only plates, and now we try to add bricks to them, but at the same time the base isn't supported at every position from below. You can see that there are gaps where we haven't placed any plates, and I guess because of that, when we push from up here, the plate bends down, and because of that we can't properly interlock the pieces. I don't know. That's not fun at all. Hopefully this problem will be solved once we put plates on top of here, and then we can push on everything at once. And I simply hope that this somehow will give the whole build some kind of sturdiness. The next step did actually solve the problem, at least a bit. Now everything is quite sturdy, but I'm still not convinced that all the pieces are connected properly. Have a look here at the lower end of those bricks. I don't think that they are connected with the green plate below. At least not completely. But at least the build seems to be sturdy. Okay, I could close those gaps. At least I think so. It helps when you place other plates below those gaps. I did it this way, the other way around, like this. And then I put the build on top, and then you can push without having the problem that the huge plates bend. And this at some point closed all those gaps, even though in the meantime I produced more gaps, but I think now everything looks alright. Step 2-55. Have a look at what we are doing in this step. So here we got these two clips, here we got a 1x4 tile, and now we are doing this. Is this building technique legal? I'm not convinced. Step 2-62. We have completed the second building section. And we have added some buildings and also parts of the gardens. And now in building section number 3, we are going on with adding buildings. Step 3-24. I think in this step we are using a building technique which is actually illegal. Have a look here. We have created this little segment with the help of several headlights. These pieces. And you can see that they got this little tongue here in the front. And the problem now is that because of this little tongue, the piece itself is wider than a normal 1x1 brick. I think you can see it when we place it like this. So here is the headlight piece, and now let's put the 1x1 brick in front. And I think you can see that we still can see a little part of the headlight brick here, the little tongue. And because of that, there is this gap. This means the area where this headlight brick here in the middle is located is actually, too narrow to also give us some space for the tongue of the other headlight bricks, which are placed next to this headlight brick. So in total, we don't get three normal bricks on top of each other. Let's see if I have other pieces so I can show you this. Maybe it's easier this way. So you can see here I put three normal bricks on top of each other, and they should have the same height as the little segment, but now there's clearly a gap visible. And this is just an illegal building technique. I think in an earlier step we also used these headlight bricks in such an illegal way. As you can see, the bricks are not of the best quality. They have strange tolerances, and because of that it seems to work, but this isn't allowed. Oh, and talking about illegal building techniques, I checked the technique where we placed this tile on those clips in an earlier step. This actually is an legal building technique because we used C-shaped clips here. If we had used U-shaped clips like this one, then this wouldn't be an illegal building technique. Step 3-78. We are done with building section 3. The garden screw. We can see more of the fortifications, and we also added some more palaces. Now it's time for building section number 4. Step 4-2. Here is another piece which the Lego company doesn't use. It's a 1x1 plate modified with stat to the side, with open stat to the side. And I have seen these pieces in a lot of sets by other companies, but it's the first time that I find such a piece in a BlueBrixx set. Step 4-10. In this step we have to use another of those special plate modifieds. This time it's a 1x2 plate modified with 2 stats to the side. Another piece which the Lego company doesn't use, at least not like that. They also use plates with stats to the side, but there are not only the stats themselves on the side, there are also, I don't know, it's more like a whole other plate attached to the side. Step 4-12. It seems that the set contains a lot of non-standard pieces. Have a look at this 2x2 by 2/3 slope. Step 4-78. we have completed building section 4, and as you can see, we have completed about half of the outer walls of the fortifications. Now in the 5th building section, we are going to add more parts of the gardens and also some palaces. Step 5-66. The whole building section consists of building a huge segment, which we can see here. And now it's time to wet this huge segment with our main build. You can see that we got those bricks here which are attached to a hinge, and we have to connect these 4 studs with, I think, those 4 anti-studs here. I fear that this might become a bit difficult. We will have to find the right position for those pieces here, and then hopefully at some point everything just will fall into place. Well, it wasn't actually that difficult to connect those 2 segments with each other. You can see here through a gap where you have to place the bricks which are attached to the hinge correctly. Start with sticking in the segment from this side, and then you can bring the hinge in the right position and then lower this part of the segment, and then you just have to push until this segment interlocks with the bricks. Maybe you have to adjust the bricks slightly. I did this with scissors, so I just took one side of the scissors and I could stick it through there until the bricks were in the right position, and thanks to pushing I interlocked everything. Well, you can see that we have completed a huge part of this fortified palaces complex, but we are far from finished. We have finished the 5th building section, and now in building section number 6, it seems that we are going to build the palace of Charles V. Step 6-72. We are using yet another non-standard piece, a piece that the LEGO company doesn't use, but at least this time it's a piece that BlueBrixx uses quite often. It's a 1x1 plate with the studs on both sides, so it's the perfect piece to invert the stud order, to reverse the building direction. Step 6-95. With placing the palace, we have completed this building section. And placing the palace was a bit tricky. You can see that we got here a stud and there a stud. And this whole section is attached to those 2 studs. And it's simply not so easy to place it on those studs when you can't see what you're doing. You can see that it's quite a huge segment, and you can aim for to place this stud between those 2 anti-studs here, but placing it on this stud is a bit more difficult. So I aimed for the stud on this side, and then I wiggled the build for quite a while until it just fell into place. Alright, this is how our build looks so far, and now it's time for the final building section number 7. Step 7-30. I think I have found another piece which the LEGO company doesn't use. It's a 3x1 slope, but it's only 2/3 tall. Step 7-45. Once again we are using an illegal building technique with headlights. So here we got the headlights, and now we are supposed to put this 2x2 brick in front of them. And when I interlock them, you can see that the headlights aren't interlocked properly any longer. They sit in a slight angle on the plate below. You can see that the gap down here is smaller than up here. It's only very slightly, but it is visible. And I think here you can also see that the headlight isn't properly connected in the front. The reason for this is that headlight pieces have these studs to the sides, which are a bit wider than this lip down here, than the foot. You can see here the stud to the side peeks out more to the right than the foot of this brick. In the next step, step 7-46, we are using this illegal building technique once again. Step 7-118. In this step, we are building and placing the plaque, which also comes with a printed tile. That's quite cool. And after that, we have completed the build. And I think it really looks like the real Alhambra. That's so cool. Well, let's have a closer look at the individual buildings. I'm also going to show some photos I took about a decade ago, so you can compare the brick buildings to the real buildings. First of all, we sadly have to notice that the Generalife Palace with its gardens is missing. Also, outer walls and gates, for example, a gate here in the front which leads down to Granada is missing. We only get to see the core complex. This build is huge, and I guess if those structures were not left out, then the build would simply have been way too huge. Well, but now let's enter the build via this bridge and through this gate. Alright, when we are inside this castle complex, then we first of all see the convent of San Francisco and its gardens. And if I remember correctly, then here we get to see some ruins in front of the convent buildings. All right, where to continue? Let's go over here. I think this is the former palace of Yusuf III. Nowadays, only some excavated foundation walls are visible. And it sits in front of the Patal Palace with its gardens. Over here, I think those are the baths of the mosque, and next to it we get to see the church of Santa Maria de la Alhambra. Then let's go on. This here, that's the huge palace of Charles V, Emperor Charles V. Yeah, with its colonnades inside. I really like this palace. It looks absolutely fantastic. Well, the brick-built palace might look a bit strange, but I definitely love the original building. Okay, then behind this palace we see the Nasrid palaces. Over here we got the Mehua. Next to it there is the Comares palace with the court of the myrtles. You can see the water down there. And next to that there is the Palace of the Lions with the court of Lindaracha and the very famous court of the lions. You can even see this little fountain here, the famous fountain with the lion statues. Okay, then over here we recognize the Alcazaba, the castle. It's really the centerpiece of the system of fortifications. In the courtyard we can see some ruins. And yeah, what else to say about the Alcazaba? I think this here is the Torre de las Armas, and the huge tower here is the Torre de la Vela. Yeah, on this tower the Reyes Católicos raised their flag when they achieved to take over control of the Alhambra. Well, then here with this tip, the build ends. Those are huge walls. I guess you call these walls shield walls? I don't know. I'm not really a medievalist. Well. Oh, I almost forgot to mention this path here. It leads down to Granada. I remember that I walked down the whole way to the city and visited the huge cathedral down there. Okay, I think the shape of this build really looks great. It comes very close to the original complex of fortifications, to the real Alhambra, and I think the designer has done a nice job. Assembling this build was fun and not difficult. Well, wedding some of the segments maybe might be a bit difficult for beginners, but there isn't really anything too complex to handle. But I would recommend to interlock especially the build's base very well. Otherwise, the cheap bricks might cause some problems. The bricks are alright, they do the job, but they are definitely not the best pieces on the market. The tolerances aren't too bad, but they could be way better. And have a look at these huge crater-like injection holes. Those are ugly, and sadly we get to see quite a lot of them. I really don't like them. I also don't like that we used that many special pieces. I prefer only using standard pieces. I'm even not a fan of the Lego company introducing new pieces, and I don't like it at all when other companies do that. There are only very few exceptions I tolerate. For example, single hollow studs or minifigure accessories. That's fine for me, but I always try to avoid any special pieces, any special molds. Well, what else? I noticed that the set also uses pieces which are still protected by the Lego company. But I guess this is alright. BlueBrixx does it all the time, so the companies seem to have some kind of deal. Or maybe BlueBrixx simply has got very good lawyers. I don't know. Well, alright. I think there isn't much more to say. The build looks great, and it's really fun to assemble. If you like the Alhambra, and if you can ignore the not standard pieces and the ugly injection holes, then I see no reason why not to recommend this set to you.